Well, if the polls are to be believed, the Liberal candidate is about to take down a former Harper cabinet minister who the Prime Minister described as the best MP Labrador ever had. Peter Panashaway had to quit to fight a by-election after being found in violation of election financing rules. But Liberal hopeful Yvonne Jones has a massive lead in the polls over the Conservative incumbent. We requested an interview with Mr. Panashaway. His campaign declined, but I talked to Yvonne Jones from St. John's earlier today. Yvonne Jones, welcome to Power Play. I'm a little confused, though, if you could help me with this one. According to the Prime Minister, Peter Panashaway is the best MP Labrador's ever had. He's brought high-speed internet, roads, prosperity to the region, and yet the last poll I saw has you 40 points ahead. How do you explain that?
Well, it just goes to show that the Prime Minister is lost touch with Labradorians altogether. He's further removed than I ever thought he was to make a statement like that. And I think the past record of other MPs in Labrador will show otherwise. And, you know, we've had strong representation in Labrador and in Newfoundland over the years in Ottawa. And I think if anything, we have the weakest representation that we've ever had in our history. It's sitting there today in the Harper government.
How did Mr. Panashaway's declaration that he held up money for a project in Newfoundland until he got money for a highway in Labrador, how'd that go over in Labrador?
Well, you know, I think most people looked at it for what it was. It was an attempt by him to make a play on Labradorians for support, and it didn't work because, you know, we're fair people. Labradorians have always been fair. Yes, we expect more and we deserve more and we will demand more. But at the same time, it's never been the position of Labradorians to hold back others in society, to put others down, and certainly not take an unethical approach to one's job. You know, what he did was unethical in making, in taking an action like that. And, you know, we wouldn't want our doctors doing that. We wouldn't want our teachers doing that. And we certainly don't want our governments doing that. And, you know, so I think it backfired on him. But it was a political attempt on his part and an attempt that failed, in my opinion.
Is this a referendum on ethics in some ways, in the sense that how he got elected last time with some irregular, if not illegal, campaign funding was the reason we're having this by-election, and now some of the ethics are coming into play on the doorstep even now. Is this what it's all about?
I think it plays a role, but not the only role, and you would expect that it would play a role. Obviously, he resigned because of unethical behavior in the last election, and it's the reason we're having a by-election today. But I think on the ground in Labrador, it's more about representation as well. I think Labradorians want to have a strong voice in the Parliament of Canada. I think they want someone who's going to work hard for them to advance the agenda for the people of Labrador, and they haven't had that in Peter Panashaway. So I think it's a bit of both that's coming into play in this election. And one of the key things that I'm hearing at the door is, listen, you will be a voice. You have the leadership that we need in Labrador today. So, you know, I think people are thinking on both fronts right now as they make a decision going into the ballot box.
Are you finding it hard to keep the troops, your troops, motivated when these polls seem to suggest it's a landslide for you? Is that proving a bit of a challenge?
You know, election campaigns are all a challenge, always a challenge. This is my 6th campaign. And so, you know, I've seen take various roles, I guess. But, you know, anytime that you have polls indicative of the ones that I have right now, it's always a little more difficult to motivate people. But at the same time, I have to say that the support has been tremendous throughout Labrador. I'm really enjoying the campaign and the opportunity to meet Labradorians in their own communities and in their own homes, to listen to their issues and to listen to the kind of representation that they expect and they deserve from Canada. And I will certainly do my best to work hard for them when elected, and in the meantime, I'm going to work hard to ensure that I win this election.
You're saying when elected, not if. One final question, if you don't mind. It's a bit of a personal one. You were fighting cancer, and that impacted on your political career at the provincial legislature. Are you completely over it? You look as energetic as anyone I've ever seen before. I'm hoping that's a sign that you're as healthy as can be.
Well, I am very healthy, Don, and anyone who knows me, they know I'm a barrel of energy, and I don't go half out, I go full out all the time. But the good news is I met with my doctors again this morning. Everything is great. I have a clean bill of health, and I'm right back on the campaign trail again in a couple of hours. So, you know, I've stopped for about 5-6 hours today to take care of some personal issues, and outside of that, it's full steam ahead now, right up until May 13th, and then I'll get up the next day, and it'll be full steam ahead again for me.
I'm sure it will. Yvonne Jones, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Don.
In a landslide victory last night in the Labrador by-election, Liberal Yvonne Jones took the seat of former Conservative Cabinet Minister Peter Panashaway. The Prime Minister was in PEI today, and he had this to say on the loss of his former minister. Peter Panashaway knew full well that this would be difficult. At the same time, he was determined to do the right thing, and therefore he made that decision, and we want to thank him for his service to Canadians. Well, let's see what the winner has to say about the Prime Minister's comments. Yvonne Jones, the MP-elect for Labrador, joins me on the line now. Yvonne, congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
So I'm curious, what do you think of the Prime Minister's statement about Peter Panashaway?
Well, it really doesn't hold any water at this stage. I think the right thing would have been for Peter Panashaway to step down as soon as the scandal broke, and he didn't do that. He stayed in the job for a year, and you know, I think that did not sit right with many people across Labrador, and his making a decision to step down was really only because of the pressure from Elections Canada and what was happening there with the investigation.
Yvonne, the numbers clearly favored you throughout the race, but you are in fact the winner today. How does that feel?
It feels good. You know, the people of Labrador wanted a change. They want a change in how they are being represented as Labradorians. They want to make sure that they're being listened to, that their voice is being heard within the Parliament of Canada, but, you know, in other venues as well. We have a lot of industry in Labrador, and people want to see more benefit from that industry accruing into their communities, into their families. So, you know, they were tired of having a representative who was coming home with scripted messages from the Conservative government. You know, they wanted someone who was going to take their message and start acting on that.
Yvonne, some people say that Labrador is unique because it is, even though it's a federal by-election, a place that's smaller, people know each other, and that this win may not be something that can be interpreted on the larger scale in terms of whether people are happy with Stephen Harper. Do you agree with that?
People are definitely not happy with the Harper style of governance that they've seen here. You know, the Conservative government have been making commitments to the people of Labrador since 2006 in all kinds of elections. They failed to deliver on those commitments, and that resonated with people in this election. In addition to that, there was one issue that Labradorians came together on, and that was search and rescue in the wake of the Burton Winters tragedy. And they looked to the Harper government, they looked to their federal MP to, you know, act on their behalf to strengthen these services, and they failed to do so. They turned their back on the people of Labrador when they were reaching out and asking for their help, and that was not lost on people going into this election. I can certainly tell you that. I heard it quite a bit at the doors.
Yvonne, how difficult was it to fight against this argument that the Conservatives were putting out, that they were choosing between essentially a backbencher or a cabinet minister? And that comes to mind because you're talking about this issue of search and rescue.
Well, it's never easy to fight a campaign based on that. I mean, that was the only thing they did have going for them as a Conservative Party in this election. You know, and those things are not easy to fight. Nor is it easy to fight lies and half-truths, which was a lot of the things that we've seen put out by the Conservatives in this particular campaign. But you know, I really appealed to the trust and the honesty community of Labradorians. I asked them for their support. I told them I would work hard for them, and I met them personally, and I looked them in the eye, and I made that commitment. And in doing so, they put their confidence in me. They've given me their support, and I won't let them down.
Yvonne, what are you looking forward to achieving here when you come and see us in Ottawa?
Well, obviously, I'm looking at bringing the voice and the message of Labradorians to the Parliament of Canada. I want to make sure that Labradors, that the rest of Canada knows what's important to the people of Labrador. I want them to know what we contribute to this country, and I want them to know what we expect in return. So I'm hoping to build and strengthen on the relationship that we have.
Yvonne, thank you so much again for your time, and congratulations on your win.
All right, thank you.